Hi everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing this black brocade underbust corset made by Restyle. Now, even though this is under a different name as the black matte cotton wide hip corset made by the same company that is so popular these days, this is still the same pattern. So the fit and the silhouette should still be comparable. So here is the front, the side, the back, on the other side. So actually putting my hair up here for a second, for the length and the fit of this corset, the center front here is 12 inches, the princess seam from the underbust to the lap is 9 inches, the side seam is 12 inches again, and then the bottom swoops up just a tiny bit, so that is 11.5 inches in the center back. You guys know that I have a long torso, so from my underbust to lap is about 11 inches long. I have another 1.5 inches at least between the top edge of this corset and my underwire of my bra right here. So it's definitely not hitting my underwire, and even with people with a shorter torso, after talking to them, they say that they don't have a problem with underwire entrapment either. So this would be a nice long line corset that would still be suitable for somebody with a short torso or a short waist. So for the circumferential measurements, this is labeled a size 22 corset. However, after reading some of the reviews on their site and talking to some other people who have this corset in the same pattern, you realize that their patterns do tend to run a little bit large. So when I received this in the mail, the waist was about 23 inches. The underbust area was about 28 inches, which is a little bit smaller than my natural underbust measurement, but because it stops a little bit lower down on me, it's actually okay. I can actually still close it at the top edge. The bottom edge here at the low hips is about 36 inches, and along the iliac crest here, that was probably the most difficult to measure internally for me, just because of that curve going over there, but I estimate it is about 35 inches at the iliac crest. For the silhouette of this, I do consider this to be quite a conical rib cage. It does pull in my lower floating ribs here. So the silhouette is definitely suitable for training your rib cage if that's what you want. However, I would probably have to wear this for a little bit while longer to really determine whether it would be strong enough to hold up to any sort of daily wear or waist training. I also consider it very comfortable around the hip area. Quite the hip shelf on here, as you can plainly see, so I don't feel any pinching or numbness. Actually, there's a tiny bit of air in between my actual iliac crest, like the bone there, and the corset, so there's no like grinding of the side bone on my hip at all. So here's a Restyle corset laid flat. For the materials, the fashion fabric is this poly black brocade, and on the inside it is a 100% cotton black twill. This is what the Restyle label looks like. It has their website, size 22 here, and the contents of the corset and the place of manufacturing. Turning this corset on its side, this has a 6-panel pattern. 1, 2, 3 makes the front, 4, 5, 6 makes the back, and there's a lot of fullness for the hip here between panels 3 and 4. Additionally, these first 2 panels in the front actually converge so that the bones are coming together closer to the lower tummy in the front there to give a little bit more support. The construction of this corset is different from any other corset I've reviewed before. So the brocade fashion fabric and the twill lining here have actually been fused together. I cannot actually pull these 2 layers apart because they've been glued together. They've been laminated with a fusible in between them. So when you do that, you treat it as 1 layer, and then the panels were assembled using a lock stitch with the seam allowances towards the inside. And then those seam allowances were covered with these double boning channels made from twill. And these boning channels, they not only cover the seam allowances, but they also reinforce the strength of the seams because they are straddling that seam. So this seam is on, say, panel 3, this seam is on panel 4, so it adds a little bit more strength to it. But because of this method of construction, because those 2 layers had been glued together, that means that there's no possibility of there being a hidden or invisible waist tape in this corset. If there were a waist tape, it would have been exposed either on the inside or the outside, and unfortunately I don't see that. Now, at first I thought there might be a waist tape because of these lines going across, but when I actually feel it, this is actually just tension lines from the corset being worn. Same thing on this side. And I thought that maybe that would be a waist tape, those little wrinkles there. But what I had discovered was obviously the first and the last panels do have to have 2 layers to sandwich the bones in between them. And here you might be able to hear a little bit of crunchiness there. That is because they reinforced this busk panel with some buckram. And buckram is a type of strong stiffened canvas that I believe is used as a strengthener and a shaper in hats. So if you hear this, I was very happy to discover that this was not in fact any sort of plastic in there, but buckram. So that is a good thing, but it also unfortunately means that due to the construction method of this corset, there is no waist tape included. Here's a close-up of the binding made from bias strips of black cotton twill. It is machine stitched on the outside and also on the inside here with a bit of a top stitch on each side. And you can see that there are some really tiny garter tabs here. I believe there are 2 on each side, so 4 in total. The Modesty panel in this corset, when stretched out like this, is almost 6.5 inches wide, so that is impressively wide. I would say it's maybe 4.5 inches of usable space. So it's finished with the brocade on the outside and the cotton twill on the inside, and it is anchored down with this row of stitching right here. So if you don't like Modesty panels, it's easily removable. Additionally, there is this almost 1 inch wide Modesty placket in the front here, slightly stiffened, like I said before, with the buckram. And the busk in this corset is 10.5 inches long. It is a heavy duty busk, so 1 inch wide on each side and fairly sturdy here. And it has 6 loops and pins, all equidistantly spaced. And this corset has a total of 24 bones, 12 on each side. Like I mentioned before, it's double boned on the seams here in these internal channels. And I do believe that they are all steel boning, spiral steel boning, because they all attract the magnet. Additionally, there are 2 flat steel bones on the back here, sandwiching the grommets. And here's a close-up of the grommets, and there are a total of 24 2-part size 00 grommets with a small to medium flange. They're finished in silver, and they all seem to be holding in fairly well. And here's the back of the grommets here, so you can see the wash is about the same size. They've all rolled cleanly here. You don't see any fraying or any loosening or popping out of the grommets here, even at the waistline. So they all seem to be holding in very well. And I was not kind to this corset either. I've had it for quite a while I was waiting for Restyle to kind of get their corsets back into stock. So I've been wearing this more often than some of my other corsets before I had reviewed them, and it's holding up quite well. And for the laces here, they seem to be about a 1/4 inch wide when I pull them taut here. Black flat, either nylon or polyester shoelace style laces here. They have a little bit of spring to them, but not enough that it's really annoying. And they are virtually impossible to break. I noticed that they glide through the grommets well. They don't seem to catch on the grommets. They're not too slippery though. They hold the bow quite well, so I have no problem with these. The price for this corset on the Restyle website is a little bit under €41, so it actually converts to about $56 US. And this concludes my review of the black brocade underbust corset, which is the same pattern as their wide hip underbust. So I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something new, and if you did, please remember to click that like button and help support the channel. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'd be happy to get back to you or forward your questions over to Restyle. Please subscribe for more corset videos in the future, and I will see you guys later this week for another video. Bye!